Well, we'll get the important stuff out of the way. John Kenny Dowell, what's your take on it?
Yeah, obviously we'll know more tonight, Willem. So it's in the hands of the tribunal now. Yeah, and we'll know more tonight, mate. But I will say that Skids is, in 16 years NRL and Super League career, he's never missed a game from ill discipline. So, well, as I said, we'll know one way or the other tonight. But it'd be nice if they take that in consideration as well.
What did you make of it? You'll have seen the video. What did you make of it?
Look, it depends on, the ruling now. They've got rules in place, and rightly so. So, we've got to abide by those rules as players. The players that, have to abide by those rules. So, there wasn't a lot in it, but if we're looking at some rulings now, then it may, it may not look great from some people's point of view. But as I say, I don't think it was. There was not a lot of intent. There wasn't a lot of, it wasn't trying to hurt the player. It was just a reaction, which, maybe in hindsight, is probably the wrong reaction.
So what would you consider a result from tonight then?
Oh, look, it's one of those. We need to wait and see. I think is it maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks is what they talk about. But as
3 to 5 it is, Willie.
Yeah. So, mate, what I'd like is the tribunal to look into, his history as well and what type of player and person that he is, because we've got rules in place and I get that. But let's have a look how serious, look into it a little bit more and the person, the character. So I'd like to think it's going to be, be nice to be under that, but we'll accept whatever we've got to accept.
Is there any possibility that you think you might get away with a ticking off and a caution, or do you think that that's too much to expect?
I'd love that. I don't know, mate. To be honest, yeah, as I say, it's too hard to. I'm not going to. It's like in everything in life, you can only control what you can control. We can't control anything at the moment. It's in the hands of the tribunal, so they'll come back with us, with an answer tonight. What that looks like. Naturally, we'd love. Skids to be able to play this weekend. Is that reality? At the moment, it's in the hands of the tribunal. So we'll wait and see, mate.
Right. Well, that's one part of the left side conundrum. The other part is Kane Linnett. What's the update on him? Yeah,
so Kane's looking. So he's got some ligament damage. So he's looking at about a month on the sidelines. So hopefully, we can get him back sooner. But it's about a month at the moment.
What is the extent of the ligament damage and where is the injury?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's around his medial. So obviously it wasn't the other ligament, which is the ACL. That's a season-ending injury. So a little bit of ligament damage around his medial.
Operation needed, or will it just be rehab?
No, just rehab.
Oh, well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's it's one of those. Obviously, Kane's at the back end of his career. We want to manage him the best we can, but he's a professional, so there's no doubt in the world that he'll get himself back in sooner rather than later. I know the type of professional he is, and he'll be itching to get back. So we want to manage that. It may be 3 weeks, it may be 4 weeks. We'll find out.
Because he missed quite a bit of last season, so from a psychological point of view, how's he standing up? How's he bearing?
Yeah, he's okay. Naturally, it could have been a more serious injury with an ACL. So you got to always look at positives, and that's a huge positive.
Did you have a fear that it might have been that?
Yeah, of course. When you go down and someone comes off the field, and certain parts that he was sort of, given his thoughts to the rehab specialist, our physio Dan. Naturally, you can always think it's going to be an ACL injury, but it wasn't. So we sent him for scans, and thankfully it wasn't. So, as I say, maybe 3 to 4 weeks.
Anybody else that picked up any injuries aside from hurt pride?
Yeah, so we've got Jordan Abdul's just got a minor injury, minor calf injury. So at this stage, yeah, he'll look at 1 week.
So he's not playing. Sean Kenny Down might not play, and Kane Linnett definitely won't play. That gives you some conundrums to fill, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives opportunity. That's what it does. We went to Salford a couple of weeks ago and we had 4 players out, and we put in a really good performance against a good team at home, and got the result. So we're back at home again this week. We weren't happy with our performance last week. It doesn't matter who wears that jersey. We've always spoken about it. You got to wear it. Compete hard. You got to wear it with pride, and I know the guys that will come in will do that role.
Well, you've got to dismantle left side, which is your potent side. You've got to reconfigure that and hope that it hits the ground running. Who comes into your thoughts?
Naturally, Sam Wood will come in. So he did the job a couple of weeks ago, so he'll be rewarded for that. And then we'll look to give some opportunity to some other players. So Lewis Senior will come in contention.
That sounds good. What about a halfback to replace Jordan?
Yeah, so we obviously got there's Will Dagger available. There's Rowan Milnes. So they'll put themselves in the picture. But yeah, it's Dag's done a good job at fullback, and Rowan's ready to step up as well. So yeah, we're looking at one of those two.
Let me ask you about the fullback role. Well, does Lachlan Cooke come back in?
Yeah, he'll come back this week. So he's over his injury now, which is good. And no doubt we're a better team. When I say better, more experienced team. And our attack flows when Cootie's playing. So we're looking forward to him coming back.
Defensively, you've got to look at what went wrong against Lee. Does that come into your selection process?
Yeah, so I'm always around defence first, to be honest. Naturally, there's 2 sides of the game. We want to entertain, we want to play with freedom with the ball, but we still need to play with discipline. But for me, it's defence sort of determines and highlights who you are as a team and as a club. We definitely let ourselves down in that area last Friday, no doubt about that. So I'm looking for a better defensive effort, and then off the back of that, your attack will flow, and you'll be giving yourself more opportunities off the back of your defence. So yeah, we're going to look to improve that this weekend.
What specifically got under your skin? Because it will have got under your skin. I think I know you well enough now to know that you wouldn't have been happy with it.
The overall performance, or defensively, or
both?
Yeah,
let's take the defence first.
Yeah, look, I think the tries that they scored, the ease that they, we always talk about that. Doesn't matter who you're playing, what time of the game it is, you need to defend that try line. Like it's a grand final, like you're playing in big games. There's no reason why you shouldn't. So we let in too many easy tries and soft tries through the middle and then on the edges as well. So there's no doubt that I believe it was out of character. It was out of of who we have been in the preseason. Then from the friendly from Leeds to the first couple of games, that's been an area of that we have strengthened this year. We have worked hard for each other, and I thought when the game was on the line, we probably didn't work hard enough. But it was a game I spoke about last week. We didn't look comfortable from the start. So I suppose what was disappointing part for us was the ease that they scored their tries, and then the consistency from our end overall in our game.
What I would say is twice you had a 7-point lead and failed to close the game out, and that is down to game management, and that was in deficit, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, I usually you put it down to the halves when you talk about game management, but our game management came from ill discipline. It came from forcing offloads. It came from giving penalties away when you've got the ball. So we've prided ourselves in discipline. We've had a low penalty count in terms of penalties against us because we do pride ourselves in that. There's no doubt we let ourselves down with our discipline. We got beaten at the end of the game, but there's no doubt I thought through that game we didn't look comfortable at all. And if we got through that game, it would have been a very, very ugly win. Although you want to win like that, but to be honest, mate, we got what we deserved. You get what you deserve in games, and we got what we deserved. The way we played, we didn't play a KR style of footy, and that's competing to win. That's world class effort. We didn't do that.
No, I asked a question of Ryan Hall earlier. Was there some sort of subconscious complacency because you were coming up against a side that hadn't won and were newly promoted? Did you get a sense of that before the game and during the game?
Not really. I think our lead up was quite good. You know, our preparation wasn't too bad. There's definitely a couple of things that we'd change where you learn from. The biggest, as I said, the plays after the game, we'll learn so much from that game, so much. And we have, you know, coaching staff, players all included. So, you know, I think from the way the week, you know, we prepared during the week from staff point of view to the way the players then went out and performed to our ill discipline, you learn a lot. And we did that. We looked at that in the review, but it was never so much about Lee. We knew that what they were going to bring. We knew they were going to be hungry. They hadn't had two wins. Sorry, they hadn't had a win out of two tight games. We knew they were a quality team. But for me, mate, it doesn't matter who we play. If you've got to have consistency. It's like we're playing this weekend against a very strong Warrington team. We need a better performance. Naturally, we want a result, but for us, it's about getting a better performance. When you do that, and you're not on the right side of the scoreboard, where you can build from that. But from last week, we got beat just on points, and it was a back end of the game, but it was certainly a performance that we weren't happy with.
No, back to the basics, which always is processes. And against Warrington, you've got to get those right to hope to get a result, I suspect, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing for us this week is keeping it simple, going back to what works for us. You know, they're a quality team. We don't need to go too much into them. We know what they've done to start the season, obviously what they've purchased in the preseason. For us, it's about keeping it simple and going back to doing what was working for us and doing that consistently well.
Is that going to be difficult to do given the amount of changes that you're going to have to make?
I'd like to think not, because you've given opportunity. We've given opportunity to players that have been looking for that opportunity. Naturally, you want cohesion. You look at the teams that are there at the end of the year, they have cohesion. They have their main, I suppose, squad playing for majority of the games. We've started at the other end. So, you know, obviously the round one game, we lose 4 players. Then, you know, now we're losing another few more players. So we're struggling to find that cohesion at the moment. But where it does, it gives opportunity to players. You know, I've always said that I do have belief in the squad that we have. Players have come to me knocking on my door asking why they're not in the team, and rightfully so. Now they've got an opportunity to go out and prove themselves and prove that they should be in that 17, because there's players that are going to miss out that naturally think they want to be in the 17, they should be in the 17. So they're ready to go next week if these players don't come out and perform the way that we need them to this week at home.
I guess there's a certain element of changing the coach's mind once you get the opportunity, because, you know, your first picks are your first picks. That can change, but it can only change if the players go out there and sow some seeds of doubt in your mind as to who should and who shouldn't be in the side.
Yeah, I've said to the players and the media as well. I think after round 10, you get an idea of what of your 17, what it looks like. You know, round one was never going to be that case. We did the job round one, but the guys that missed out, it didn't mean that they shouldn't be in that top 17. It just meant that we've come up with a team that week. It's similar now. Naturally, we've had to make some changes because of some injuries and things like that. But it gives these players an opportunity to prove themselves for, as I say, once we get to, that round 10, 11, 12, where you start to see trends in players, you start to see trends in the team. That's when we get a better idea of individuals of who should be in that 17. At the moment, they've all got their hand up, and rightly so. Now they've got to go prove themselves, and it makes our job easier in terms of being able to pick a team by who puts their hand up and who doesn't.
And it comes down to coaching as well, because when you put a squad player who wasn't in your initial 17 for the first couple of games and you put them in there, you learn an awful lot about how he needs to get from A to B, from B to C, and what coaching you need to do and what specific things you need to improve him on. Is that something that you also look forward to?
Absolutely. It's every individual is different. They've all got a different skill set. So if you're putting a certain player in, if you've got a certain style that you want to play with, then obviously you'll recruit players around that. That's a way of doing it. But when you've got different players with different skill sets, you may need to change the game and manipulate your game plan a little bit to suit that player. So for us, we're fortunate enough. We do have depth in positions where that they are similar, so we don't have to change too much. But that's the art of coaching. That's the beauty of coaching. It's, for me at the moment, it's not about motivating the players, because I know the individuals are motivated to go and prove themselves. They've got an opportunity to do that. It's early in the season, so there's no reason why we can't come out Friday night and start well against Warrington and put in a good performance, because it's we're back at home and we're going into round 4.
Let's talk about Warrington, because second bottom of the ladder, they escaped relegation, and how much of a big up for Daryl Powell is the fact that he's managed to turn that round and gone 3 from 3 the following season?
Yeah, naturally, Daryl went. I wasn't over here last year, but obviously Daryl went in and had a squad. Then he wanted to change that squad. He would have seen some trends in the players and looked at individuals and the culture of the place, and needed to change a few things, which he did in the preseason. They've purchased well, as I said as before. They're well balanced across the park. They've got big forwards. Yeah, they're a good team. There's no doubt about that. So, they've started off accordingly, and they're coming here obviously to try and start 4 from 4. But we've got to say in that as well. Yeah,
indeed. What are the nuts and bolts of beating them then?
I think, you got to match their middle. When I say match their middle, they've got a big forward pack. So if you nullify that, then you're half a chance. They do want to roll forward. They do want to give George Williams and Dufty and those type of players space and time. So we need to win the middle third. It was an area last week that our middles, we weren't too happy with the way that we played and the way we wanted to dominate that middle third. We didn't do that. So there's a good challenge for our pack this week. It's a real good challenge, because we're playing against a big, good pack in Warrington. If we win that middle third, then you're a big chance of winning the game.
How do you rate the matchup man for man between your side and their side in the pack?
To be honest, I haven't looked individuals. I look at us collectively and go that we're a good pack. We've shown that the first 2 games. The first 2 games I thought we were dominant in our pack. Last week, as I said, we let ourselves down a little bit in that area. But yeah, if you're asking me, would I swap anyone in their team this weekend? No.
Well, if you didn't say that, I'd be very worried, Willie. One final question to you then. You spoke earlier in this interview about forcing things and not having patience and game management and all the rest of it. Well, is that something that you will be impressing on your side, that every time you have the ball, you don't necessarily have to score?
Yeah, you got to build pressure. You got to earn the right, and that's where I say last week we went away from being who we are, because we've built games. Those first 2 games, we had a mentality, to win the game in the back end, and we did that on both occasions. We didn't force it. We were in front by 7 points the other day, and we're trying to force it.
Not once, but twice.
Oh, mate, more than that, I think. Yeah, sorry, being in front by 7, but the amount of time we try to force it, absolutely. So that was, I'm looking at that as out of character from us. But you can only accept that for 1 game. You can't accept that ongoing. So for us, we would never want to be a side that just tucks it under the wing and just carries forward 1 out. We want to be a team that's going to ask a lot of questions. But as I keep saying, you need to have discipline within that.
Time and a place then.
Absolutely. Earn the right. once we've earned the right, then we'll put ourselves in positions that we can open up and be a bit freer and play how we want to.
And don't worry that you haven't won the game after 40 minutes. The game is 80 minutes, and I know from what you've said, you've trained the side to play 80 minutes, and all the pre-season build-up was there. You've got to impress on them that, well, you've got to utilise that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've trained that way, exactly what you're saying, to play to the 80th minute. So credit to Lee. Lee hung in there, and they played that way, and they asked a lot of questions with their attack. So we went away from being who we are, and that's, you asked me before, what's the most disappointing part? That's the most disappointing part. Going away from who you actually are. If you believe in your identity and what we've done all pre-season, stick to it, because it was working the first couple of rounds.
Willie, thanks very much. Lovely to talk to you. I might text you later in the day to get your reaction to whatever happens with Skidsy. Is that okay?
Yeah, no worries, Willem.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Hi, Willie. You all right, buddy?
Hey, Joe. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Just two, mate, because Willem's covered it all on Jordan. Did he do it in the game then, yours? He picked up at training. Sorry if I missed that.
Yeah, no. So it was just a tightness one. It was similar to Cootie. It's not as, I think it'll only be a week, mate. But it tightened up in the game. It didn't feel too much, and then it was just one of those injuries that stayed. So he had some soreness, but then it stayed a little bit longer than usually a couple of days, and then it eases off. We had him booked in for a scan anyway, and then it's only showed real minor. It's a minor injury, so I'm thinking he'll be back next week.
And I know, obviously, the way you've played, Jordan's kind of the linchpin of this side, isn't he? Especially kicking in general play. Will that affect if it's either Rowan or Will? Are you going to change the style of play, or are you just going to continue the mantra that you've adopted with this side and kind of the next man up has to step up and go again? Yeah,
so I think the guys you mentioned then are both quality kickers. So and we've got Cootie as well that can kick, and Mikey's on the other side. So we'll be okay. It won't. I mean, naturally, Jordan started the season really well, but whoever steps into that role, they'll do the job.
Last one. If Will plays, will he carry on the goal kicking, or will Cootie get it back? Do you know yet, or is that something they'll decide?
Yeah, it's something that we'll have a look at, mate. But we haven't looked into it that far yet. So to be honest, it's we'll just work out who's playing in that position first, and then we'll go from there.
No worries. Best of luck Friday. I'll speak to you then, and hopefully we get a good result tonight.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
See you soon, buddy. Bye-bye.